maybe you can talk Mika through this.
Yeah, because I don't get this running out the clock. This is ridiculous.
Mika's very concerned, and we were talking about this yesterday, and so I'm really glad you're here today, about the Democrats' sort of lack of focus on this. You worked on a committee where you guys would have a Benghazi hearing every day. Yeah. You called people up. They were televised. You drove the narrative. You got Hillary Clinton up there. She testified a long time. You got her to say something that she regretted later or that people that supported her regretted it. And it was constant. There was a hammering. Here, the committee's had, I think, one televised hearing. Mm-hmm. It's like too sedate for C-SPAN. Yeah. Like the people at C-SPAN were looking at it, go, man, they really got to punch this up.
It's not like they don't have material.
Right. It was, yeah. So what's going on? Why don't they've got, this is something that they should be setting up every day, that Americans should be watching every day with interest, because you actually had a group of traitors trying to overturn American democracy. You can put a few televised hearings together about that, more than Benghazi.
Oh my gosh. I mean, again, this is a frustration that I've talked about a lot too, which is these people have made it a very deliberate effort that they can run out the clock. They can use the system as it's currently structured, because the system was never designed to have this type of insurrection from within. And so they believe they can push this off, plead the fifth, delay taking action.
Why would your committee have done, Republican committee have done, if Democrats had tried to run out the clock?
Oh my, we would be having a hearing every single day. I was thinking to myself as Willie was reading some of this evidence, these text messages, why not have a hearing and present this information
Read them
every single day? Yeah. Make people show up and have to actually raise your hand and take the fifth. If you want to take the fifth, do it on camera.
Every day.
Who's not doing their job?
I think that Democrats in Congress need to be a lot more aggressive. I think it's really that simple. Ask yourself, if you're a Democrat in Congress, what would a Republican do?
It is a DNA thing.
It is.
It is such a DNA thing.
I don't understand it.
It's like I never got into a political campaign where it wasn't like, okay, I'm going to run this with a tact of Sherman. I'm going to burn everything from Atlanta to the sea, 300 miles wide. And if anything's left growing, I'm going to salt the earth so it never grows again.
That's exactly right.
I swear to God, Democrats, that's how Republicans think. That's how they focus. If you're going to fight a war, you fight a total war.
Who's not doing their job?
What's happening here?
Well, think about the people that were on the Republican committees. Darrell Issa, Trey Gowdy, Jim Jordan, Mark Meadows, Mike Pompeo. That's the type of characters that Republicans had on these committees, throwing bombs, issuing subpoenas, having hearings, making it a show. It was a deliberate television show that was choreographed and planned, because at the same time that this was going on, remember, the Tea Party was going after Boehner. There was a lot of friction in the Republican Party. There was a calculated decision that you take eyeballs away from that fight over here. We're going to put on a show for the media, for the political community, for the base, and it worked. And I think to myself, as I watched the Democrats' disarray narratives that unfolded during the infrastructure Build Back Better fight, what if there were oversight hearings so that at least some of the conversation would have been about that? Well, Democrats figured out the policy over here. They had this wide open space that they could be having. How have they not had a hearing with Mike Pence? Hey, Mr. Vice President, how did you feel when they were saying, hang the Vice President, hang Mike Pence?
There's so much material.
And you show the video every single day. When you're having those hearings, you show the video. Because the most powerful thing about January the 6th is not actually the words of the people, it's seeing that video. Because it's very hard for Americans to look at that video and not see for their own eyes
what's keeping the Select Committee from doing simple things like this.
And the thing is, Karen, they want more than anything, Republicans want more than anything for Americans to forget that actually Donald Trump helped lead, the Republican president helped lead an insurrection against the United States government.
Well, there are some mitigating factors here, which is also that Congress has a very aggressive agenda, that they are trying to deal with a very uncertain economy, that they are trying to deal with a pandemic. There is a lot of other things that are going on. And so, again, I do believe that the biggest existential question facing us at this moment is the threat to our democracy,
Right.
but there are a lot of very, very urgent concerns right in front of the American people that the Democrats are also going to have to deliver on before next
But
November.
they're not even managing those. I mean,
Yeah.
we were talking about that in the last hour with
Wait.
Adrian. They're not being able to demonstrate the ability to deal, as Kurt said, the Republicans did back in the day with Benghazi. Yeah, you have these skirmishes over here. You got this stuff going on in the economy. Okay, we're going to let those things play out, but we're going to focus the nation's attention here. You're right. You know, you've got all these other issues. But how are you focusing the nation's attention right now? What are you waiting for? At what point do you think you can then open up these hearings, to your point, Joe, and have it come out every day? And the American people are going to tune in. What, April? In the beginning of the campaign season? When do you start that? You've got to set these narratives up. They just don't happen overnight. Joe and I know you just don't get out there and say, okay, now everybody, we're doing this.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. You've got to lead people to that particular space.
And the thing is, you have Jonathan Lemire, different committee chair people who can do hearings on inflation, and other can do hearings on the supply chain, and other can do hearings. But I guarantee you, when Government Reform and Oversight is doing a hearing where Mike Pence is coming up and he's having to watch for 45 minutes video of Republicans chanting, "Hang Mike Pence," and he's having to answer questions. Now, when did you first hear this happen? What is your comment about Donald Trump revving up those crowds who wanted to kill you and your family?
And then holding back from calling them down.
With a tweet, even after he knew that you were in danger. I mean, I'm sorry. I think that would make compelling television, and more importantly than that, it's something the American people need to come face to face with. It is a truth right now that they're just not being confronted with day in and day out in a congressional hearing where they could get to the truth. They could see the truth with their own eyes.